Your business is currently at risk of sudden financial paralysis, and it has nothing to do with your revenue or your credit score. If you operate a United States LLC or C corporation, but rely on a registered agent address or a standard virtual mailbox, you are walking into a compliance trap that is currently snapping shut on thousands of entrepreneurs. Fintech platforms such as Wise, Mercury, and Relay are conducting aggressive account audits. They are freezing funds and rejecting applications based on a single data point: your physical address. This is not a technical glitch. It is a systematic enforcement of federal banking regulations that most digital business owners ignore until it is too late. The era of running a $1 million company from a $10 a month mailbox is effectively over. If you do not understand the distinction between a legal registered address and a compliant banking address, your ability to transact in US dollars will be revoked. Today, we break down exactly why this crackdown is happening and the specific actionable steps you must take to secure your corporate banking infrastructure. To understand the severity of this crackdown, you must look at the regulatory framework governing U.S. financial institutions. The root cause is the Customer Identification Program, or CIP, mandated by Section 326 of the USA Patriot Act. This law requires banks to form a reasonable belief that they know the true identity of every customer. For years, Fintechs operated with looser interpretations of these rules to acquire users quickly. They allowed registered agent addresses or generic virtual mailboxes to pass through their automated onboarding systems. That leniency has ended. You're watching Tax and Borders, where we break down U.S. banking rules so your LLC account never gets frozen by surprise. Regulators have increased pressure on partner banks. Almost all fintechs are not banks. They rely on underlying FDIC-insured institutions, such as Evolve Bank and Trust or Choice Financial Group. These partner banks are now demanding strict adherence to physical presence requirements. They are scrubbing their databases against the United States Postal Service data. Specifically, they are looking for the Commercial Mail Receiving Agency tag, or CMRA. If your business address carries this tag, you are immediately flagged as high risk. The first misconception you must eliminate is that your registered agent address is sufficient for banking. It is not. A registered agent exists solely to receive service of process, which refers to legal lawsuits and government notices. That is its only function. It is a legal requirement for state compliance, not a physical location for business operations. When you use this address for a bank application, you are effectively telling the bank that your company does not have a physical presence. This triggers an automated rejection because it violates the physical presence rule. Banks are required to obtain a residential or business street address. A P.O. box is explicitly forbidden for this primary address field. While some sophisticated virtual addresses appear to be street addresses, the CMRA tag in the USPS database immediately reveals their true nature. The algorithm sees a suite number, cross-references it, finds a mail drop facility, and denies the application. If you are a non-resident owner or a digital nomad, the situation is even more precarious. You likely do not have a physical office in the US because your business model does not require one. However, the US banking system is built on traditional brick-and-mortar principles. When Wise or Mercury asks for proof of address, they are not asking for your incorporation documents. They are requesting a lease agreement or utility bill in the company's name. A standard virtual mailbox cannot provide this. This leads to the utility bill problem. Most virtual address providers scan your mail, but they do not generate a utility bill for your specific suite number. Without a gas, water, or electricity bill showing your company name and that particular address, you cannot pass the secondary manual review that follows the initial automated check. You end up in a loop of submitting documents that get rejected, eventually leading to a permanent ban from the platform. We now turn to the solutions. There are 3 distinct tiers of address strategy you can deploy, depending on your budget and your residency status. The first and most robust solution is a dedicated commercial lease. This is the gold standard. It does not mean you need a massive office. Many co-working spaces offer dedicated desk packages that come with a formal lease agreement. This is legally distinct from a virtual membership. With a dedicated desk, you are often entitled to list the address without a PMB, private mailbox designation. More importantly, smaller local co-working spaces frequently do not appear on the massive CMRA block lists used by major providers such as Regus or the UPS Store. If you have the budget, renting a small physical office in a low-cost area allows you to set up a legitimate business internet or phone service under the business name. This dramatically reduces your risk of address-related denials and freezes. The second solution is for those who cannot afford a physical lease. You must seek out true virtual offices rather than virtual mailboxes. These are distinct services. A high-end virtual office provider typically owns the building or holds a master lease that allows it to sublet space. You need to contact these providers directly and ask two specific questions before paying. First, do you know if this address is flagged as a CMRA? Second, can you provide a lease agreement and a utility bill for verification? Some providers have structured their offerings specifically for this banking compliance. They will issue a lease agreement for a suite and provide a supplemental utility bill or a notarized affidavit of residency. This costs significantly more than a basic mail scan service, typically ranging from $50 to $150 per month. Still, it is the cost of doing business if you want a stable Tier 1 bank account, such as Chase, or a stable fintech account, such as Wise. The third solution is the residential pivot. If you have a trusted partner, employee, or family member in the US, you can draft a $0 lease agreement between them and your LLC for the use of a room in their home as a home office. This is a legitimate business strategy. The bank will see a residential address, which immediately clears the CMRA check. Residential addresses are viewed as lower risk than mail drops. However, you must be careful with the corporate veil. If you use your own personal home address, you risk mixing personal and business assets in the eyes of the law. If you use a partner's address, you need a paper trail authorizing the company to operate there. Furthermore, you must ensure that the bank statements and official mail actually go to this address. If the mail bounces, the bank will freeze the account. Let us discuss the validation process. Before you purchase any address or sign up for any service, you must perform your own due diligence. Do not trust the marketing on the virtual office website. Go to the USPS zip code lookup tool. Enter the address they propose to give you. If the results show a line reading Commercial Mail Receiving Agency Y, walk away. The Y stands for Yes and is a red flag for banking algorithms. You are looking for an address that returns N, no. You can also use Google Maps Street View. Zoom in on the location. If it is a UPS store, a strip mall with a Mailboxes, etc. sign, or a massive skyscraper known for virtual offices, you are taking a risk. Ideally, you want a location that looks like a standalone office building, a business park, or a mixed-use residential building. The less it seems like a mail processing center, the better your chances of approval. What if you are already banned or restricted? If Wise has closed your account, you cannot reopen it with a new email address. They track your EIN and your personal passport details. You must pivot to a new banking partner, but do not burn the next bridge. Before applying to Mercury, Relay, or Brex, ensure the address foundation is in place. File a change of address form with the IRS, which is Form 8822B. Update your address with your Secretary of State. Only once the official state records reflect the new, compliant address should you submit the new bank application. Consistency is key. If your articles of organization list one address, your EIN letter lists another, and your application lists a third, your application will be rejected as inconsistent information. All data points must align perfectly across state, federal, and banking systems. There is also the option of using neobanks that are more lenient, although they are becoming rare. Some platforms cater specifically to digital nomads and may accept a foreign residential address to satisfy the physical requirement, provided you have a US mailing address for the card. However, this often limits the features available. You might not get a full US routing number or check writing capabilities. For a fully operational US business entity, a US physical footprint is mandatory. Let us look more closely at the utility bill requirement, as this is the most common failure point. If you cannot obtain a utility bill from a landlord, consider a digital utility provider. Some banks will accept an internet service bill. If you are using a co-working space, you might be able to set up a dedicated business internet line installed at that desk. It might cost you $50 a month, but that investment is the key to unlocking millions of dollars in potential transaction volume. Another tactic is obtaining a landline phone bill. VoIP services usually do not count, but some telecom providers offer fixed-line services that generate a traditional-looking bill. Ensure the bill is addressed precisely to your LLC, not to you personally. The bank compliance team needs to verify that the legal entity name matches the service address. For those operating C-Corp with venture capital aspirations, you simply cannot cut corners here. Investors will audit your corporate structure. If they see your primary place of business as a UPS box, it signals a lack of seriousness and potential regulatory risk. They will require you to regularize your address before wiring capital. It is better to establish a robust infrastructure now than to scramble during due diligence when your entire business is at risk of sudden financial paralysis unrelated to your revenue or credit score. The banking landscape is shifting under our feet. To stay ahead of these silent policy purges and protect your LLC, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. You are literally one bad address away from a frozen account. Do not let that happen. Quick question. Which banking service are you using right now? Wise, Mercury, or traditional? Let me know in the comments and I'll break down their specific risks in the next video.